I was wondering why people were so stupid to put their money inside what I considered a startup money. And so I started searching about it, and I found the Bitcoin Talk forum at the time where most of the community was hanging around. And I thought it was interesting. Like, nobody was very angry toward Bitcoin. Most people were just angry toward Mt. Gox. So I tried to learn what's the difference between Mt. Gox and Bitcoin. And I learned, okay, Mt. Gox is an exchange. It has nothing related to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is this decentralized currency. So I tried to look like how this was working, and like as I was reading, it was making technical sense to me.
Since I ate the red pills, I've mostly stopped all my old contracts to working on a Bitcoin project almost full time now. So today I'd like to make a short video about how to make your first Bitcoin transaction and broadcast it on the network.
It is often thought that people that verify transaction are called miners, but it's actually not true. Miners don't have to verify transaction. Many do, of course, because they can have problem, but the miner don't need to verify a transaction. A miner can just create a empty block without any transaction on it and don't have to verify it. In Bitcoin, every node is verifying all the transactions. So it's very important. And you should verify your own transaction just so that somebody else cannot trick you into using a different altcoin, like what almost happened in 2017.
Forget cash, forget credit cards, and even digital wallets. We're talking about Bitcoin, the newest way to pay for goods and services. Joining me right now is Tony Gallippi, who is executive chairman and co-founder of BitPay.
So at BitPay, we help businesses accept Bitcoin as a form of payment. That's the only thing that we do.
BitPay, if you don't know, is a merchant payment processor. We allow any company in the world with a single API request to accept Bitcoin as a payment option. You can supply a US dollar amount for the good that you're selling, and we automatically convert it into the appropriate amount in Bitcoin. Payment is made, and you get your settlement in the US dollars without having to see or touch what Bitcoin is.
Hi. I'm Jeff Garzik. I'm a Bitcoin core developer, and I work with BitPay.
So we need developers, front end, back end, UX.
And what projects would you have them focus on at BitPay once you hire those engineers?
We've got some open source projects like Bitcore.
One of these tools that we're going to start open sourcing, we open sourced about 3 weeks ago, called Bitcore, is the embodiment of all of this effort that we've put forth over the past 3 years.
There's lots of parts in Bitcoin. There is, for example, how do we format addresses, how like our format transactions, how do we derive new address from a keys. So there's many different protocols in Bitcoin that need to be specified, and trying to change those rules, it's very difficult. In 2017, there was kind of Bitcoin war happening, and there was two camps in this war. One wanted the way bigger blocks, having more transaction per second in Bitcoin, and another one wanted to stay more conservative to make it possible to run Bitcoin on very small devices, because we thought it's important for decentralization.
That's how it started for me. I just wanted to be doing something more productive than arguing with people on Reddit during block size wars. Which is a funny term, because the whole block size wars weren't even about block size. They were about exactly like who tells who what to do.
The high 90+% of the miners and the businesses involved in Bitcoin all came together and agreed on a compromise of a Bitcoin SegWit 2x, including myself and Bitcoin.com. So all of our existing infrastructure at Bitcoin.com on that day will follow the SegWit 2x chain per this New York agreement.
The side that wanted bigger block, that we call them the SegWit 2x, there was several companies that wanted this to happen. There was BitPay, of course, that was the leading payment processor at the time.
The Bitcoin network today can only do so many transactions because that's all its capacity is, and that has to be rebuilt so that it can handle more transactions per second per day to make it usable for larger businesses.
Lying to their customer, basically saying that just what they wanted to do is a normal upgrade of Bitcoin, but really it was what we called a hard fork. So it means basically they would create a completely new currencies that is not Bitcoin and migrate their customer there, but they were not saying any of that. So I thought it was very dishonest.
Could you give me an example of who would want to use BitPay? Why wouldn't you just accept the Bitcoins themselves?
So there's a lot of tricks to accepting Bitcoin. Number one is the exchange rate. If you want to accept Bitcoin but set your prices in dollars, you don't want to be checking the exchanges and updating your prices every 5 minutes. It's kind of tedious. So we let you set your prices in your local currency. For some businesses, if you're running on really low margins, you may want to lock in those coins right away. And as a business owner, you don't want to spend your time playing around with an FX currency exchange trying to sell your own coin. So we can lock in the rate and we can do that for you. And what that gives you is just a daily settlement every day into your bank account. So you can accept Bitcoins, but you're invoicing in dollars, you're receiving dollars, and your financial reporting is very clean. And it just makes it a better way to actually integrate with the accounting system that you're already using at your company.
Before this war, I was very fan of this service and advised it to many people. Even if Bitcoin, the protocol, was decentralized, lots of users were depending on single service providers, and so BitPay was one of them.
Our top story today: the spam transactions have stopped. There is no reason for a 2x hard fork, except of course, they signed the agreement. Part of this anger is over BitPay's decision to launch a new blog post saying that users should upgrade. However, BitPay said that the users should upgrade to BTC1, the 2x hard fork, while conflating the language, using the language of Bitcore to say they should upgrade. Coinbase doesn't seem to understand this and says that they only said download BTC1. The problem that they said, upgrade your core node to BTC1.
They were trying to force the outcome there to declare SegWit 2x as the one real Bitcoin, and that's the origin of that famous tweet of Nicholas: "This is lies, my trust in you is broken, I will make you obsolete."
That's when I wanted to start BTCP server to move away from those companies that was, in my view, hijacking Bitcoin.
Hi everyone, it's Nicolas Dorier. So I'm making a screencast to explain you what I was working on recently. As some of you know, BitPay seems to not support Bitcoin anymore and support B2X.
I decided that I had enough and I wanted to create a new payment processor that would be free and open to everybody.
Like if you were a merchant on BitPay, you could just drag and drop, replace your BitPay dependency. And a lot of merchants that really believed in Bitcoin, supported Bitcoin, but most of everything supported individual choice. You can't have trusted third party declare what is Bitcoin for you.
The goal was, if everybody can be their own payment processor, then the problem that happened in 2017 cannot repeat, because those big entities will have way less power in the future.
At the time when Nicholas tweeted, most people were like, is this guy insane? Like, BitPay just raised 60 million and there is this single developer saying that he will obsolete BitPay, but in retrospect, that's the genius. Like, it only makes sense in retrospect.
I'm Nicolas Dorier, the main maintainer of nBitcoin and BTC Pay. And so on this link, basically, if you have your BitPay invoice, you can fill it out here and it gives you a QR code that is compatible with every wallet. BTC Pay depends on PostgreSQL, so it spreads the PostgreSQL. It's connected to nB Explorer. Basically, we present you one of the crazy stuff he's been working on, and yeah.
I think the most interesting one is the transmuter from Books. Send out QR codes with tickets or events and stuff like this.
Everything is super custom and it's not too hard to do. So this is what the typical invoice looks like, by the way.
Anybody that wants to integrate PageOn will have a clear guidelines basically to integrate with us. People that want new feature of BTC Pay, instead of having to learn how to contribute to BTC Pay, they can instead just use BTC Pay as a headless server and just use the API to build whatever they want on top of it.
Okay, everyone, can you hear me well? Sound is great. Woo! Okay, it's time to start BTC Pay Day in Riga. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for being with us today. Every year we do this. It's a really special time.
So Rockstar Dev is the first contributor of BTC Pay server. We actually met on a website before Bitcoin that was called Code Project. It was a community website for developers to write, where developers are writing articles and sharing their knowledge. And Rockstar Dev was on this, and me too, I was writing an article. And I just saw what I was doing, and I decided to help me on the project.
That's how the whole Nimit identity started. Late 2017, I believe. I have since started contributing to a number of projects in Bitcoin ecosystem, and more recently Nostr. So in the shortest possible answer, that's who Rockstar is, that's who I am. And then I was very pushy from start, is that there should be other people around him, because he was great with community, but people working directly with him, he was kind of avoiding it from my perspective. But I managed to establish this channel where besides Nicholas, there were me, and I have added Pavlenix and Cooks.
I was getting sick of working for other companies. I was getting into Bitcoin, maybe even a little bit of shitcoinery at that point. I'm like, what can I do here? What can I build? A friend of mine came up to me, he's like, oh, we can build an exchange. Yeah, I'll do the business side, you can do all the dev code. And stupid me was like, okay, the guy has no money, but I'll build everything and I'll be the CEO or whatever. So okay, so I started doing that. I started building all the code and everything. I worked in C# all my life, so obviously I started looking for libraries that I can use. I ran into Nicholas's nBitcoin, started hacking around that stuff, found him on a chat. He's like, oh, I'm working on this new project. Maybe you can use that for your exchange, for the deposits and stuff. I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. And that was basically BTC Pay server. I'm like, okay, it's pretty cool. It was pretty rough, very hard to install back then. You had to do everything manually. And I opened a few pull requests, and Nicholas was like, okay, yeah, you can do that. Releases it, everything is going good. And I kept adding more and more little bits here and there. At some point, I was just doing it so often. It was like, I stopped working on the exchange. I was literally just working on BTC Pay server for months and months for free. I didn't even give a shit about the exchange anymore.
Creating a company is kind of complicated. So for example, if you want to do a payment processor as a company, you need to follow lots of regulation, and it's very time consuming. And it's not only development, it's mostly compliance and legal. And this type of research doesn't go to the well-being of the customers, basically, of the people that are using your product. It's more to avoid going to jail, basically. When you create a free open source software, everybody can run it. So as developers, you don't feel burdened to the same type of regulation that a company will have, for example. So it means that the software is way easier to spread, like it can spread across border. Many people can contribute because there is no permission to be had. The code is free open source, which means that everybody can read the code, everybody can modify the code, everybody can clone the code and have their own copy that they maintain. So it's kind of very empowering. It's why we developed so quickly. Like many people use it for their own reason and really like to contribute back to the community. It's something that doesn't happen for non-open source software, like if you were creating a company, for example.
It just creates a Docker Compose and put lots of different software inside. I'm using a Block Explorer that I developed as well, that's called End Explorer under the hood.
And Bitcoin it's kind of crazy as well, because Nicholas got into Bitcoin 2013, 2014 or something, and he's like, I want to learn Bitcoin, what can I do? Like, I'll grab Bitcoin Core and just fucking port it over to C#. That's End Bitcoin. You can find it on Bitcoin Talk. There's like a whole thread of him like, I just ported over Bitcoin Core to C#. The guy's a fucking insane guy. He's just, he's like, I think I want to build this thing. Disappears for like 3 weeks. Just, I built it.
So you go to your VM and lightning show.sh. You run it, and you have here what you need to give to your plugin to connect to this lightning charging fence.
You can contribute to Bitcoin without working necessarily on that protocol level, whether it's Bitcoin Core or Lightning. So if you are more application developer, or maybe you're not developer at all, then you can still contribute to Bitcoin.
I was into e-commerce, so I had a bunch of e-commerce websites which operated in different industries. And one of those industries was merchandise, t-shirt selling industry. And I got so pumped and excited about it. This is such a cool technology, it will change the world. I need a t-shirt. I want to show everybody that I now know what Bitcoin is. And then I started searching for t-shirts online, and all of them sucked. It was mostly that Bitcoin sign, and this was just it, Bitcoin sign on a t-shirt. So I started this online business, which was called bitcoinshirt.co. And I launched the website. It was part of many e-commerce sites that I had, but I launched it and I proudly announced on Reddit, okay, here is my Bitcoin t-shirt site. I accept Bitcoin. I even found a Bitcoin provider that allowed me to accept Bitcoin, but it was very weird to me because at that point, the provider that I found took fees from me. And then I realized, wait, I'm from Serbia, so they didn't allow me to register even. So it took a while to find a provider which allowed me to accept Bitcoin through them. I don't even remember the name of this provider at this point, but I remember that once I announced the launch of the store, I got so much shit from people saying this is not the way Bitcoin should be used. Why are you doing this? Bitcoin is not meant to be accepted through intermediaries. You should just post an address. And none of these people understood how e-commerce works at all. That's not how e-commerce works. Me as a merchant, I don't want to think about any of these. I just want to get things done. I have my business to take care of. Why would I put a description address in it? That's not the automated way to do things. And then one guy just randomly yelled. He was very aggressive in his tone. Look, this is one project by core developer. Check it out. Here is a link. And then it was literally a link to the BTC Pay server GitHub.
In this video, I would like to show you how to create a Bitcoin point-of-sale app and accept Bitcoin payments, Lightning Network payments, and perhaps altcoins if that's what you want.
He was just a user, he was asking questions about the project. If something was not well documented, he will ask questions to us. And the nice thing about Pavel Next was, as he learned, he did not only take, but he was noting everything and documenting everything by himself and sharing it with the community on Reddit. It was a journey for him, and more and more he really enjoyed this helping other people to jump in BTC Pay server. So he took care of documentation and everything that is project management side of BTC Pay server. It was a very natural fit for him. So he's not a developer at all, but he really helped us a lot organize team from the beginning.
I think I got to involved with BTC Pay at around the same time we started 21 because all of us met at the Lightning conference in Berlin.
What BitPay did is it allowed you to pay a merchant. So you'd put a plugin on your website, you'd have a shopping cart, something like that. And at the end, you'd say, okay, pay with Bitcoin. And BitPay would do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then it started getting fishy, right? SegWit was coming out. They wouldn't update. They were charging like a flat fee instead of an average fee. They were making it really hard for people to use Bitcoin. And then what really drove me crazy is they broke all these websites. There's all these people that had the BitPay plugin in there and they didn't have to do any work to take Bitcoin. It was set. And then they broke it. You had to update the plugin or add some new plugin. You had to create some new system. It just got really like, are they trying to help Bitcoin or hurt Bitcoin?
Today, we're seeing about over $1 million a day in transactions, with about 1,000 new merchants signing up every single week.
Welcome to the Bitcoin St. Petersburg Bowl. As the leader in Bitcoin payments, BitPay is forging the future by lowering the risk and cost associated with traditional payment options.
We've grown BitPay to 80 employees on 3 continents, and our team has a goal to have 1 million merchants accepting Bitcoin within 2 years.
Excuse my language. Engineers talk a lot of bullshit. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's deployed in the field, what's working in the field, how it's working in the field. Field data trumps everything else.
So I created the BTC Server Foundation in Tokyo, and the reason why was that as BTC Server became bigger and bigger, more and developer helping the project, we had also lots of companies that wanted to participate and help us, but didn't have a real way to do so. Like they were saying, "Oh, we want to sponsor you. How do we do?" So they would go on one page and there was like 40 contributors on the page and like, oh, which one should we fund? They didn't know exactly because they just want to help the project. They don't want to pick individuals.
Welcome everybody to BTC Paid Server Delph goal number 9 to basically sync a little bit faster. On today's agenda is basically our 1.5.2 progress. So we'll have quite a few developers here. So happy to see all of you guys. And we'll discuss a little bit on the progress, and then we will basically review some of the blockers so that we can proceed a little bit faster with this awesome new release.
BTC Pay Server being open source means that as a company, when you depend on it, you have way more power. So for example, if you have a problem, probably it might be a technical problem, you can fix it by yourself, or you can come and like somebody can provide support on a chat, for example. But if you were, for example, using some centralized service, then things might not get as easy. Like you might not get proper support coming because there are way smaller number of people.
There are multiple people out there running BTC Pay, not just for themselves, but also sharing their instance with their community, their friends and family and what's on. And even at 21, for instance, we are running community projects on our BTC Pay so that they don't have to take care of the Lightning node, manage liquidity and so on. BTC Pay has the ability to do all of that in a mostly non-custodial fashion, and even with Lightning you could integrate an external Lightning node, or in the future hopefully the app. And I think that's an essential part, because not everyone has to run a BTC Pay, but that way everyone could potentially easily be a user of BTC Pay.
Hi everybody. So welcome. This is my first VR presentation, so I'm pretty excited. Thanks for coming.
You mentioned that everybody can set up a BTC Pay server and that you can give permissions to everybody else so they can log in, so they have a lot of login. Is it also possible to connect their full node, LND node, to the fresh login? So if the users don't have to use the the full node or the node from the server admin?
So this is a really common question that we get all the time in the BTC Pay server chats. People always want to know how to do this. What I talked about, how you can enable an unlimited number of accounts, the question that you have. If you are interested in something like that, in BTC Pay, we call it a third-party BTC Pay.
That's the beauty of it, right? Everyone comes up to us as like, oh, who's the co-founder? Who's the CEO? Who do I talk to get a license? You don't talk to anyone. You just fucking go to the website and download and install. It's your software. It's your own. Just fucking run it, man. We're not charging you money. We want you to make money. This is for you. Make it work for you. And if you make a buttload of cash off it, feel free to donate back to us to help, things keep going.
One of my favorite moments on the project was when some people were posting, what are terms of service? What is your privacy policy of the project? And Pavlenix, he tweeted from the BTC Pay server account, a link to BTC Pay server org/privacy policy. And people clicked on that and got to this page where it's like, yeah, we don't collect any data by. So that was our policy. And then when it comes to fees, again, whole point of BTC Pay server is to collect Bitcoin payments without third parties. So fees are 0.
It's not like when you have some centralized service where you know what's going on, you can track everything, you know what users are doing. So because everybody runs their own installation, we don't really know. It's also spreading the attack vector, so to speak, because if you run a lot of instances, then maybe one server can get hacked, but it can't be that huge data pool gets leaked because we don't have any centralized server where everything is stored.
Not being burdened by all of this data and information allows us actually to listen to our users way better. We go to conferences and talk to them. How many of you guys know what BTC Pay server is? Can you raise a hand? Okay, we are ending the demo now, since you already know everything. But okay, then we will go quickly through this part. Stick from Satoshi Labs came to us and he demoed us integrating BTC Pay server within an actual point of sale device, which Wouter will now show you as well.
Yeah. So this is like a point of sale terminal. It runs Android 11. So it's a smartphone with a ticket printer, NFC reader. It even has a QR scanner in the back. And yeah, it's very versatile.
One of the feedback that they got from the previous conference was hey, this is a Bitcoin conference, but we couldn't pay it with Bitcoin. So they reached out to us and they suggested, hey, can you guys onboard all these merchants? And then we started onboarding them. We bought 20 point of sale devices. What's great about BTC Pay server is that you can run them on any cheap devices. We bought these very cheap Android devices, point of sale terminals, where we loaded BTC Pay server point of sale. We handed it out to each merchant. We tried to explain to them how BTC Pay server works, what to do, but to my surprise, their feedback was well, this is very similar to the credit card experience. I understood it. And to my surprise, they didn't really have any questions. They were okay, I enter the amount, I click charge, I get paid. Is that it? How do I print a receipt? We tell them, they're okay. I'm do you have any questions? No, it's good.
It's very easy to get kind of carried away arguing about politics or current events or things that are wrong, but ultimately the only thing that's going to improve anything is code that people can use that solves the problem, right? So that's the point. If you actually want to do something, it's better use of time to write some code rather than arguing about things.
Let it run and that's it.
Well, Bitcoin is kind of like that, right? Because it's sort of opt-out technology. So you don't have to persuade people. You can just, unilaterally use better money, hard money, and we all believe we're right. And if we are, that will change things slowly because having hard money is a strong tactical advantage, right?
So proud to have been an early supporter of BTC Pay. because your mission and your community that you've built is really the best of what Bitcoin represents. And so I'm honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a number go up, but number of Bitcoiners also go up.
Yes.
That's very important.
Baltic Honey Badger is not just the conference itself. We also have a Riga Bitcoin Week, which is a week full of different Bitcoin-related events. And during the first one, we just set up in the backdoor room, and we were setting up those cards manually, 600 cards by ourselves.
And I think Bitcoin service providers are basically Bitcoin ambassadors that operate for profits. So the question is it possible to help people to evangelize Bitcoin, but not by their goodwill, but for a profits incentive? And I think it's very important, because when you do everything for free, it's very easy to burn yourself out. But sometimes when people are paying, they pay more attention about what you say. So I think it's very important. How we plan to do BTC app is in the same direction. We have this model of where we have those Bitcoin service providers, they host the infrastructure, and merchants with an app can easily use their infrastructure, but the important thing is that the merchants should never lose custody of their funds. If the Bitcoin service provider disappears, then the merchant should be able to jump to another provider and get back his money.
Koji, you gotta get local community to join for the picture. Come on.
When people see that famous green checkout when they're paying with Bitcoin, what they maybe don't know is that it's not the platform that we are hosting. It's just maybe this merchant runs his own instance somewhere on the internet and they're getting paid directly without us being intermediary. So it's like a blessing and a curse in a way, not knowing how many people in the world use BTC-based server. And I think also we underestimate how many people use BTC-based server. Like, for example, in one of the conferences recently in Prague, we just learned that there are one of the biggest wallet in Bitcoin uses BTC-based server as a backend. We learned that the payment provider that was processing the payment for entire conference was actually using BTC-based server underneath. I mean, if you go back to Tesla used BTC-based server to accept Bitcoin payments. And we didn't even know. We had to do so much guessing, and we didn't know. We had to ask them directly, and they told us only a year and a half after they stopped accepting payments, yeah, it was you guys that we used.
We have merchants who are saving millions just in fees for using the BTC Pay server because it's free. And we have Human Rights Foundation that uses BTC Pay. There are lots of other projects. Tor project used BTC Pay to crowdfund. They are still using BTC Pay to accept donations. Also, charities use BTC Pay server to accept donation.
On Bitcoin Twitter, I saw a tweet from Pavlinix that it says it's someone from El Salvador and needs help to set up a BTC Pay server. Let me know and get in contact with me. We're going to help. It was like a boom, every people from outside El Salvador wanted to know about the background of the country in economics, society, the geographic position, etc. So it's the way I got to know Pav. I let him know that I'm a doctor of dental surgery working with impoverished communities in El Zonte and in the Pacific coast of El Salvador because we support and work with organizations that are in need to our support with dental treatments, or in the case, the dental health system. In our community, there are a lot of people that doesn't have a formal job or education, a way to survive, and a lot of people that doesn't know how to read or how to write. But their workforce, it's working with the farm, with the land, or as a construction worker. So in this case, Adrian was have a previous education. He knew about the value of money and the value of saving money. In this case, he has no bank account, but he had a Lightning wallet where he started to save in Bitcoin. It doesn't matter about volatility. He just knew, or in one point in his life, he could achieve saving money, in this case, save it in Bitcoin, get the dentures he dreamed of about all his life. Bitcoin Magazine, in this case, tweet the construction worker who saved in Bitcoin to pay his dentures in the dental local place in El Sonda. That place was mine, my office, my small office. Where? Well, Bitcoin Smiles office. We have 1,077 donors, contributors right now. I have no words for the Bitcoin community, for a BTC Pay server, or Pavlinix, or all the crew, who were behind marvelous initiative we are providing through Bitcoin Smiles. Free dental care for people living in impoverished communities, thanks to Bitcoin.
Enrique, are you here? Oh, no, okay, he's preparing. He's coming from El Salvador, so let's welcome Enrique with a big applause, please.
It's an honor for me to be here in Madeira.
Yeah, putting it.
Yeah. Thank you, baby.
Look, he likes it.
I was
So we have around 20 stores, and then each store, there are stores with 5 devices.
Okay. Or we have a store for every merchant.
Store
we have a
for
store
every-
for every merchant, one account for all the merchants. Okay. And then one account for all the bulk cards. One account for all the bulk cards. Okay.
Yes. So
Well, we can teach them with this, and then we just give them the POS machines when we see them on Saturday and Friday.
Yeah, we don't need to give them this now.
So
we
that
can,
works.
we can do it. Like I'll finish that so that Cookie is proud of me. Oh.
No, I don't.
Cooks, are you by any chance like you're pummeling the server?
Of course I am.
So that's why the balance is not working.
What isn't working?
Balance checks.
I just tried it just now.
You have the machines? Just one time.
Sometimes you experience some problems, right? But the main problem is when they don't have any funds available.
Can't believe it, only like 2.5 days. So far we are gunning for like 2 Bitcoin in total. So it's like a lot of volume. It's working really well. They're complaining that fiat credit card terminals are down, but the Bitcoin average goes down. I need his help. I need his help. Let's go, we gotta help them.
Fast, man. Thousands of payments, simultaneous payments, NFC technology, hardware device, open source stack, open source payment processor. It's crazy.
It is, and I was just saying earlier how the craziest thing is anyone that wants to do this, that what we're doing, they clone everything, get it up and running, and process payments for their community.
Thank you so much.
Somebody in a normal job, like working as a developer in a corporate company, like the best way to get started with BTC Pay server is just use it and find something that you want to fix, open an issue, fix it, open a PR, and then do that every day or like every week, like as fast or as slow as you want. And yeah, if you like it, eventually maybe one day you can leave your normal job and work full time on BTCP server, and maybe also on different other projects as well, like some contributors are doing.